Factsverse presents 30 U.S. cities with the worst reputations. Los Angeles is arguably the worst. There are some cities with horrible reputations. The people who live in these cities are loyal, but people who don't live there would never consider moving there. Here are 30 U.S. cities with the worst reputations. Before we get into our list, what's the worst city you've ever lived in? And do you think it's going to be on our list? Before you watch the video, jump down to the comments and make a guess. Also, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Oso, Washington. Oso is a small town just north of Seattle. In 2014, the town made headlines after a massive mudslide killed 43 residents. According to geological surveys by experts, it was already known that the town was prone to mudslides. There might not be a lot of crime and violence in the area, but it's still easy to get killed there. Farmington, New Mexico. Of all the cities in the U.S., Farmington experienced the most significant population loss over the last 6 years. Between 2010 and 2015, over 8.76% of the people moved. After a massive chemical spill at the nearby Halliburton facility in 2006, many people just packed up and left. Things didn't get any better after multiple civil rights investigations took place. Detroit, Michigan. Detroit experienced the second-largest population decline over the last century. Since the 1950 census, the city has lost 63.9% of its population. As these people left, the city lost its tax base and had to declare bankruptcy. As a result, there are abandoned and dilapidated houses all over the city. Seeing the city in such ruins has scared off potential residents. St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis has a lot of good points. There's the Gateway Arch, the St. Louis Zoo, Union Station. Unfortunately, there are certain things that have destroyed the city's reputation. St. Louis has the most plastic surgeons, obesity, and violence per capita than any other U.S. city. And sadly, the bad things negate the good. Reno, Nevada. Over the years, Reno has been on a decline because tourists prefer Las Vegas or the Indian casinos in California. Reno just can't compete with Las Vegas anymore, so it's been trying to reinvent itself. Since there is still bad publicity from celebrities like Amy Schumer, it still has a bad rep. Things in the city are slowly improving, but it has a long way to go. Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland's most significant issue is the unemployment rate. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the unemployment rate was 6.5% in January of 2017. By 2019, that number had dropped to 5.1%, but that's still pretty high. These statistics have kept people from wanting to visit or move to Cleveland. Camden, New Jersey. There was a time when Camden was a major manufacturing hub, but today it's one of the most dangerous cities in America. In 2012, the crime rate was 6.6 times higher than the national average. In 2019, the crime rate dropped by 19.5% for violent offenses, 16.9% for nonviolent offenses. That sounds good, but the crime rate there is still 225% higher than the national average. Memphis, Tennessee. There are some good things about Memphis. There's the Memphis Zoo, the museums, Graceland, Elvis's place. Well, despite those great places, the crime rate is still very high. According to an FBI report, the crime rate in Memphis is 1,142 per 100,000 people. This is 209% higher than the national average. Many people who have been living in Memphis for decades, they're leaving now because they don't feel safe there anymore. Stockton, California. Stockton's been trying to climb out of debt to boost the economy, but the crime rate is making that almost impossible. The FBI has reported that there are 795 violent crimes per 100,000 residents. This is 115% higher than the national average. Due to a lack of funding, there's been a cutback in the police force, which has not helped the crime rate at all. New Haven, Connecticut. New Haven has a lot going for it. It's home to Yale University, the headquarters of the Knights of Columbus, and it's where President George Bush was born. The city is considered a part of the greater New York metropolitan area. Unfortunately, it is a very dangerous city. The crime rate has kept people from moving there. Flint, Michigan. Flint was once a booming industrial town. Unfortunately, the water supply is poison. Cost-cutting measures caused the water to become polluted, and the city is now in a state of emergency. It's not a safe place, and people are leaving there looking for a place to live with a safer water supply. Oakland, California. Crime has been a serious issue in Oakland since the 60s. The police force has dwindled over the years, and the poor relationship between the citizens and law enforcement has not helped. According to Forbes, Oakland ranks first in nationwide violent robberies. During the first 6 months of 2019, there were 103 murders. If you want to live in a safe place, don't move to Oakland. Chicago, Illinois. Chicago is a great city full of history, but it is a dangerous place to live. In 2016, there were 762 homicides, the highest rate in 19 years. This statistic, combined with the drug and gang activity, makes Chicago a dangerous place to be. They've been trying to clean things up, but they still have a very long way to go. Modesto, California. Modesto was once a great city, but sadly things have changed. Between the foreclosures, the high unemployment rates, and the street gangs, it is a very dangerous place to live now. According to the FBI, there are 576 violent crimes per 100,000 residents. That's 56% higher than the national average. Hartford, Connecticut. Hartford is full of history, but it has a history of being unsafe. The downtown area is relatively safe, but tourists are advised against visiting the North End. Most people believe it's not worth visiting at all. Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville has a bad reputation thanks to the Northwest Quadrant and Arlington Expressway. These are areas where gang-on-gang violence is a significant concern. The crime rate in Jacksonville is 22% higher than the national average. Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson's unemployment rate is higher than anywhere else in the state. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the unemployment rate was 5.3% as of July 2019. Also, Jackson's poverty rate is the lowest in the state. The U.S. Census reports that 28.9% of the residents live in poverty. There are often boil water alerts because the water's not safe either. This has driven away a lot of citizens who've lived in Jackson for most of their lives. Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas is a major hub for human trafficking. Underage trafficking is so serious that training sessions are being held to teach people to protect themselves. Since 1994, over 2,229 victims have been recovered. Sadly, this pales in comparison to the number of people that go missing every year that never are recovered. According to the police, around 400 children are picked up off the streets of Las Vegas every year. The U.S. Justice Department has named Vegas among the 17 most likely destinations for human trafficking. Steubenville, Ohio. Like many towns in the Midwest, Steubenville has seen a decline in population since 1940. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the area has lost 52% of its residents since then. When you combine this with the political corruption, a national headlining high school rape case, and a corrupt police force, this is a horrible place to live. Johnstown, Pennsylvania. People just keep leaving Johnstown. According to the U.S. Census, within 6 years, over 6% of the residents left for job opportunities elsewhere. Nobody wants to live in Johnstown, Pennsylvania anymore. Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore's population has been on the decline since the 1960s. Over the last 5 years, more people are moving to the suburbs. Between the population decline and the race relations issues with the police force, it's just not a great place to live. Albany, Georgia. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the poverty rate in Albany is 33.2%. The poverty level for the entire state as a whole is 14.3%. Since 2010, nearly 3% of the population has moved away looking for better-paying jobs. Homestead, Florida. Nearly 27.1% of the population of Homestead lives below the poverty line. Poverty affects mostly Hispanic residents who make up most of the city's population. Texarkana, Texas. This town lies between Arkansas and Texas, and the town's paper mill makes the whole town smell awful. To make things worse, 5 people were murdered in a span of 3 months, which became the inspiration for the movie The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Tacoma, Washington. Tacoma has the highest unemployment rate of any city in Washington. It's also considered the most dangerous. In 2016, there were 947 violent crimes per 100,000 people. There are plenty of reasons to stay out of Tacoma altogether. Tucson, Arizona. There are a lot of things to hate about Tucson. First, it's the most dangerous city in Arizona, with 801 violent crimes being committed every year. The poverty level is also exceptionally high. Almost a quarter of the residents live below the poverty level. Laramie, Wyoming. Laramie has a poverty rate that's almost double the national average. Not only is the poverty level high, but the housing costs are also incredibly high. The combination of those two things has made it a place where nobody wants to live. Mobile, Alabama. The poverty rate in Mobile is incredibly high, at 22.4%. This is due to the high unemployment rate of 4.9%. The people of Mobile are struggling, and it's no longer the great southern city that it used to be. Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock is one of the most dangerous cities in the U.S. According to FBI statistics, in 2016 there were 1,533 violent crimes per 100,000 people. This is double the state and national average. There's also a higher risk of natural disasters, such as tornadoes. There's a lot to be afraid of in Little Rock. Aurora, Colorado. Aurora is one of the most dangerous places in the U.S. to live. The crime rate's 84% higher than the rest of the state. Many natives of Colorado refuse to even drive through the city. While the crime rate has dropped a bit, it's not helped the city's reputation at all. And a few bonus towns that have bad reputations. Rockford, Illinois. Hey, that's where I am! Rockford's economy has been struggling for a while now, and this has resulted in a weak job market with an unemployment rate of 6.6%. Rockford's also a dangerous place to live. There are 1,658 violent crimes in Rockford for every 100,000 people. That makes it a city with one of the highest crime rates in history. Springfield, Massachusetts. Springfield has the highest poverty and crime rates in the state. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 1 in 4 residents there live in poverty. The crime is also a growing issue. In 2016, the FBI reported 1,031 violent crimes per 100,000 residents. Anchorage, Alaska. Of all the cities in Alaska, Anchorage has the highest crime rate. According to FBI statistics, there are 1,114 violent crimes for every 100,000 people. It's also become increasingly difficult for residents to find jobs here, resulting in a high unemployment rate. Shreveport, Louisiana. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor, the unemployment rate of Shreveport is 5.2%, which makes it the most unemployed city in the state. This has resulted in a high poverty rate of 25.7%. The city was once thriving, but now it's dwindling. Louisville, Kentucky. Of all the cities in Kentucky, Louisville is the most dangerous. According to FBI reports, there are 750 violent crimes for every 100,000 people. This is more than triple the state average. Louisville also has the highest unemployment rate in the state, resulting in a poverty level of 163.7%. This is a trifecta that has caused residents to flee the city that's been their home for years. Do you live in any of these places? How miserable is it really? Tell us in the comments, and subscribe for more.